Now, because of Donald Trump administration's attack on the press, the news agency Reuters is changing the way that they cover the new administration. Now, in a message to his staff earlier this week, Reuters Editor-in-Chief Steve Adler wrote, quote, "It is not every day that a U.S. president calls journalists, quote, among the most dishonest human beings on the earth, or that his chief strategist dubs the media the opposition party. It's hardly surprising that the heirs stick with questions and theories about how to cover the new administration." Now, look, that is a good question. We've never seen an administration that is that adversarial to all the media. So, very, very interesting question. How do you plan on covering the new administration? Well, Adler cites in this memo the organization's work in Turkey, the Philippines, Egypt, Iraq, Yemen, Thailand, China, Zimbabwe, and Russia as an example. Now, all those countries have one thing in common. They are considered authoritarian regimes. So now we've got journalists here at Reuters in response to the way that Trump has treated the media, saying, look, we gotta change out how we cover this guy. We need to start thinking about covering him like the way we cover Putin, for example, or Erdogan of Turkey. Because this guy's a strong man, and there could be, I mean, let me go on here and really kind of break down what this really means. Now, Adler said that reporters could use experience learned in, quote, nations which we sometimes encounter some combination of censorship, legal prosecution, visa denials, and even physical threats to our journalists. So that's what that means. And it's true. I mean, there was a journalist in Russia that actually wrote a letter to American journalists saying, hey, man, you know, you're in this alone. These other journalists, they're not going to help you, right? You've got to stand up your own. And this is how Putin does things, and this is how Donald Trump is going to do things, because they're almost exactly alike when it comes to dealing with the press. So, and that was a memo that had wide circulation the last couple of weeks. So, now, among other advice, the news agency also pointed out that reporters should, quote, give up on handouts and worry less about official access. That's one good thing that I think might come from this, is less reliance on access journalism. But I'll get into that later. Now, he continues, they were never all that valuable anyway. Our coverage of Iran has been outstanding, and we have virtually no official access. What we have are sources. Get out into the country and learn more about how people live, what they think, what helps and hurts them, and how the government and its actions appear to them, not to us. Now, that's actually really good advice, and I would like to see more journalists take that approach. Now, the letter also encouraged reporters to never be intimidated by the administration. Quote, don't vent publicly about what might be understandable day-to-day frustration. In countless other countries, we keep our own counsel, so we can do our reporting without being suspected of personal animus. We need to do that in the U.S. too. Don't take too dark a view of the reporting environment. It's an opportunity for us to practice the skills we've learned in much tougher places around the world, and to lead by example, and therefore to provide the freshest, most useful, most illuminating information and insight of any news organization anywhere. Now, some might be thinking, well, wait a minute here. Are you literally saying Donald Trump is leading an authoritarian regime? Or that he's quite as bad as Putin? Well, not quite. He's not saying that. I'm not saying that. We're not as bad as some authoritarian regimes, but you can't not look at the treatment that Donald Trump has given the media and say, nope, everything's fine. Everything is obviously not fine. And look, even before Donald Trump, we had issues with journalists being mistreated. And let me give you some examples of that. You had, during the Standing Rock protests, which, by the way, are going on again. And there are journalists there. There's Jordan Sheridan that's reporting from there regularly. Now, during the first few months of Standing Rock, you had Amy Goodman that was there, and she was arrested for doing journalism. You also had a camerawoman, Dea Schlossberg. She was arrested and ended up facing originally 45 years in prison for covering the pipeline protests. Now, this was during a Democratic presidency. So it's not like now that Donald Trump's in charge, he's now cracking down on the media. We've been cracking down on the media for a while. Now it's just cracking down on the corporate media. They were always going after regular journalists. They were always going after progressives who were actually trying to look for the truth. So, I mean, for example, you had free speech zones before Trump. You had journalists that were being harassed and attacked by police. I mean, look at what happened during Occupy. I mean, there was camera footage of police literally coming in and harassing journalists that were trying to cover the protests. This was during Occupy. This was during a Democratic presidency. Now, where was Reuters during this? Now, I get it. Donald Trump is so much of a danger to the mainstream press than Obama was. I get that. There's no question. But for journalists, people like TYT's Jordan Sheridan, it was never really a friendly reporting environment. If you challenge power, power is going to come after you. So look, it is a little hypocritical, I think, in my opinion, to call this out now, when we know we have documented proof of progressive journalists and people who want the truth have already faced all this. They faced a hostile administration. And look, all administrations hate the truth. They hate when people go out and muckrake and rock the boat. And that's what progressive journalists have been doing during the Obama administration. And now that's what they're doing during the Trump administration. But look, there is some good that's going to come from all this, I think. And that's the fact that you have more journalists that are now willing to go and do journalism because of Donald Trump taking over. And you also have the fact that access journalism might actually die off. And we can start to get more real reporting that's going to really hold all the administration and the government accountable for its actions. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.